Okay, today we're going to work on the idea of scoreboards. And I want to just do an assignment on this because it's going to come up a ton. And I want to make sure everybody has a really realistic chance of understanding how to create a scoreboard and how to make it update and how to make it display. So that's what we're going to tackle. You're going to have two programs that you're going to work on today. I actually wrote most of the program, and then you're going to add some things to it. This will be in the email, right? You'll have links to these programs in the email. So what you'll have to do, for example, here's we've got Scoreboard 1 and Scoreboard 2. So when you click the link for the Scoreboard 1, it will come up with my code, and you will have to remix and you will have to rename. I would recommend that. And so I'm just going to call this Score 01 and save that. And then if you run the program right now, what we've got is our monster and apple are back. We did this the other day. We worked on the is touching part of this. And so you control the monster with the up, down, right, left arrows. And when he touches the apple relocates to a new spot. So what we're going to do today is add the idea that every time the monster touches an apple, you get a point. But we also have to have that display. There's two things to a scoreboard. You have to keep track of the score, but you also have to make it show up. And so we're going to work on all of that today. And I'm going to walk you through it. And on the code, I left you some comments over here. And I'm going to go kind of fast. Pause the video if you need to. But on the code, I left some comments over here that will help you along. First of all, here at line number 7, there's a comment that says create a variable for the score and set it to 0. Well, that's in the variable drawer, and when you're creating a variable, it looks like this. You use this var command. Just bring that over and drop it, and we're just going to call this score, and we're going to set it equal to 0. All right, now we don't have to use the var command again, not for score anyway, because that creates the variable called score. So we created the variable, it is set to 0. Now let's scroll this code on down. All the stuff that makes the game work is really there. All right, here's the next thing. Down farther in the code, we've got this if block that says if the monster is touching the apple. Well, we want some things to happen, and one of the things that's already happening is that the x and the y in the apple is being changed to a random number, and so the apple's relocating. But here's where we want to increase the score. If the monster touches the apple, you get a point. Now the way you do that, we're not going to use the var command, we're just going to use this x equals. Right here, it's the third one down in the variable drawer, and I'm just going to bring it over and drop it in here. I left you a little gap here, so I'll drop it in. And here's what this looks like. If you want to take a variable and increase it by 1, it's done like this. You go score equals score plus 1. You don't put quotes around anything. This is a variable. All right, so this has to have no quotation marks, and it has to match what I had up here. The variable is called score. And so I said score equals score plus 1. And what that does is increase the value of the score. Now the last thing that we have to do, and I put a little comment here at line number 38, add commands to display the score. We need to have it show up. All of the commands that are going to put it on the screen are in the drawing drawer here, and they all have to do with text. Now here's some options. I'm going to use a fill color, and I'm going to say black. I would like for my text to be black, so I'm going to set the fill to black. The fill color will affect the text color. The next thing that I'm going to look for is text size. There's a block for text size, and I'm going to go with something like 30. All right. Now I want to display that score. And that's done with the block, and we've done some of this before, but I'm just making sure we cover it. This text, and this means string, STR means string, text string, and it has an X and a Y location. So I'm going to bring that here. And now watch, this is a trick that can kind of shorten this up for you. I want you to see this trick. I want to make this actually say the letters SCORE, and then have a colon, and then have the actual variable there, the number of the score. So I'm going to go to math, and this is going to look weird, but just trust me on this. I'm going to get a plus block, and I'm going to drop it right in there. Now, you would think, why are you using math with text? But trust me, it'll work. All right, so here in this plus block, I'm going to put quotation mark, score, colon, and I'm going to leave a space there. That empty space is kind of can be important. I want an empty space to be there. And I'm going to close those quotes. Now what happens when you have quotes there is it will put on the screen exactly that. Now, in this next hole, I just want the variable score. That's not going to have quotes on it. It's just going to be the word score, like that. Now, this is for this scoreboard is going to appear how far over, and this is an X and a Y, how far over and how far down. Well, I'm going to go over, and this you can kind of guess on this a little bit, but I'm going to go like over 50 and down 50 and see how that looks. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time. You just have to change it. Let's reset and run this, and you see my scoreboard up there, right? It says score 0, and if I start chasing apples, there I think I had an apple respawn right next to where I was. But this is how you're going to know if you got this right. All right, I'm chasing apples with the monster, and every time I touch an apple, the score updates, and I can see the score update. So we kind of did three things, right? We made a variable, and we called it score. And then we set up the part where if the monster is touching the apple, the score increases. Score equals score plus 1. And then we also had to put in commands that would make sure that the score actually shows up on the game screen. And that's what we did down here at the bottom. All right, now there's another program. So I also sent you a link to this ScoreBoard 2. It's in the email. And when you get it loaded up, you'll have to remix it, and you'll have to rename it. And I'll just call this Score 2. Save that. And here's what we've got on this one. When you run it, we have a little alien at the bottom of the screen, and we've got these dots that fall from the top. You can control the alien. I didn't put this on the screen, but you can control the alien with the left and right arrows. All right, so left arrow, right arrow, you can slide them back and forth. Now, the idea behind the game is we'll do a couple of variables here. We'll do score and lives. And let's say that the green dot is good and the red dot is bad, right? The red dot takes away lives and the green dot gives you points. All right, so we've got to do some things here to make this happen. I'm going to go ahead and reset this. And once again, I put some comments in to help you along. At line 15, it says create a variable for the score and the lives. Well, you remember what that looks like here? We're going to use a var command when you want to create variables. So I'll bring over 2 because I'm going to need 2 of them. And one of them is going to be score equal 0. We want the score to start at 0. And then the next one's going to be lives. And you set that, set it wherever you want, 3 or 5 or what. I'll set mine on 5, but set it wherever you want. All right, so we're going to start it off like that. I've got the score is 0 and the lives are 5. I'll scroll this all down. All the code in here is making, it's making the dots fall, and you control the alien back and forth. And, I'm going to change a number here. I noticed that my right movement was slower than my left movement, so I'm going to change that 5 on key down right. I'm going to make that an 8. You could do that too if you want. That's no big deal. Now, comments that are in here. Check to see if the player is touching the good dot, the green dot. Okay. Well, this is going to be an if command. If you're checking something, it's going to be if, and it's is touching, right? So we're going to say if the, got to find my block here. If player, that's you can see the labels up the top. The little alien's called player. If player is touching, and the green dot is just called good. All right. So if it's touching the good dot, there's some things we want to do. One thing I want to do is I want to point. All right, so I want to go score, and I'll bring over, well, I'm just going to type it. You could bring a math thing over, but I'm just going to say score plus 1. You can just type it. It's faster. Score equal score plus 1, and that does that. Now, if it does touch the good dot, I want to reset that good dot back up to the top. So that's going to be a little bit of sprite work here. I'm going to do an X and a Y, and I'm also going to do, I'll show you what I'm going to do with its velocity. All right, so we're talking about good here. So the good dot X is going to go back up to the top, but I want that X value to be random. And it can be random between 0 and 400. Because I don't always want it to fall down the same place. I want it to be over to the left sometimes, over on the right sometimes. All right, the Y is going to be 0, right? It's going to be good dot y equals 0. I just want to go back up the top. And for the velocity, I want a little bit of randomness in the velocity. So I'm going to say let's set the velocity of that anywhere between 8 and 15. Now you could play with those numbers a little bit, but that means sometimes it'll go a little bit slower and sometimes it'll go a little bit faster. And I think that's a good thing. Now we have to do the same thing with if it's touching the bad, if it's touching the red dot. And I could rebuild all this, or if you're thinking a little bit, I could copy this and paste it. I think I'll do that. I'll copy this, and then I just want to make sure I come down here. It says check to see if the player is touching the bad dot, the red dot. So I'll paste that in, but we got to make some changes. If player is touching bad, lives. This is not going to be score. This is going to be lives equals lives plus a -1, right? I want to take one away, and you could say -1, but adding it, I almost always do that, just plus a -1, right? Lives equals lives, that's really in effect saying lives equals lives minus 1, and I want to take bad dot x and make it a random number. I want to take bad dot y and make it 0, and I want to take bad velocity and make it random, all right? So that should take care of if the player is touching the red dot, all right? So I did if the player is touching the green dot, the good dot, if the player is touching the bad dot. Now the last thing that we have to do here is display the score, right? We got to display it, and that we can do pretty much like we did on the other one that you saw. That's all going to be in drawing here. And again, I think I'll just make my fill color black, and I'm going to for the text size, maybe I'll do 24. Bigger the number, the bigger the size. And now we'll have a couple of text strings here. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to, in that text block, I'm going to use the plus thing. That looks weird, but I want to say score, colon, space, quote, and I'm going to put score in there. And I went like over 50, down 50. I think on the other one. I'll just try that. Now I'm going to make another one. All right. I'm going to, and I could copy and paste this, but I'm going to just make another text block here. And I'll bring another plus block in. And it's going to say quote lives colon space quote, and then put the variable in there for lives. And then that one's I'll go over 50 and down, and this is a guess, 100, right? We'll find out. So all of this ought to display a scoreboard for me. So there it is, score and lives are up there, and I want green dots, and I don't want black dots, or red dots. All right, and so I'm running back and forth, and if you see, I'm trying to catch, I just got hit with I got hit with another red dot. And there's other things that we could do with this game. You could make it so when you're out of lives, check to see when you're out of lives, and when you're out of lives, the game is over. That's not going to happen in the way I have it written right now. I'll show you. If I lose a life and I lose a life, my lives are going to go negative right now, because I didn't write in any coding to check to see, all right, if the lives are 0, what happens? I didn't do that. Could have done that, but we don't have to worry about that today. What I'm working on, this is how you're going to know when you're good, when you're done. When you got something like what you see here, it's showing on the screen that it's updating as I play the little game. It's updating. It's giving me points. It's taking away lives, and it's showing it to me. Right? It's showing me a scoreboard, and it's showing me how my lives are going. I'm way, way dead now, but this is how you know when you got it. All right? That's it.